Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk pastrami. What is pastrami? Pastrami is pretty much almost any cut of meat. Typically it's been made with brisket. That's what I have here. You're seeing it more and more used with what they call a navel cut of the cow, which obviously comes from around the belly portion of the cow. Some of your more innovative thinkers in the culinary world are actually starting to use different types of fish and other types of meat to make pastrami. So pastrami is actually a method of seasoning and cooking. Okay. Today we're going to use a brisket, and to be exact, I'm going to use a corned beef, one that you normally buy in a package for your St. Patrick's Day type meal. It's already been brined, because that's your key component, or one of your key components with a pastrami, okay, is brining. You brine it exactly like you would a brisket. So that's why you can utilize the corned beef that you would buy in the store, with one exception. Your pastrami is not going to be heavily loaded with salt, kind of like you would find your corned beef from the store. So this corned beef that I have here, I took it out of the package and I put it in water, completely submerged, and in the refrigerator for 8 hours. What that's going to do is going to help extract some of the salt out of this cut of meat. Okay, you will want to do that if you're going to use a corned beef to make your pastrami. Obviously, it's best if you get your own brisket. Here we have the flat of the brisket. You can use the point, doesn't matter. If you use a fresh brisket, you're going to need to brine it. You're going to do it very similar to a corned beef with a heavy salt brine. Okay. If you're using a corned beef brisket like I have here, throw the seasoning packet away. You don't need it, okay? Because your classic pastrami, other than a brined piece of brisket like we have here, you're going to do a 50-50 ratio of coriander seeds, which I have here. They're whole seeds, okay? And a coarse ground black pepper, which we have here. Okay, this is also the same kind of pepper that I use in my salt and pepper mixture that you see me use all the time. With your coriander seeds, coriander is the seed from the cilantro plant. It tastes nothing like cilantro. This actually has a citrus note when you smell it and when you taste it. So you take the seed, you can toast it if you want, throw it on your smoker for a little bit to give a little smoked flavor to it. Doesn't really matter. I just use it straight out of here. And you're going to put it in a coffee grinder is what I have. I use this as a spice grinder. And you're going to give it a good hard grind. You still want it to be kind of coarse. Okay. And so in here, I've got the coriander and black pepper just already mixed. And then you're going to want to put a nice heavy coat on your piece of meat. Now, if you grab a fresh brisket, you're going to want to trim all the fat except for about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, you want to leave that 1/8 of an inch of fat left on it all over. Okay, try to trim off any thin parts of the brisket that will get overdone and it won't be very good to eat. Okay, so we're just going to put a nice coat all around this cut of meat. And remember, again, it's a 50-50 mixture of the coriander and the black pepper. Now once we have this brisket nice and rubbed with our mixture, I'm going to let it sit overnight. So it's going to get about a good 12 hours with the rub on it. Your delicatessens, like you would find in New York, especially like your Jewish delis, they're going to probably do this and leave it sit for a good 2 to 3 days before they cook it. Okay, you see we got a nice rub all around on this guy. Okay, so we're going to let that sit overnight. When we come back, we're going to throw it on the smoker. That's the other key component to a pastrami. Corned beef is usually boiled or steamed. Pastrami is smoked. Okay, I'm going to smoke this at 250 degrees until it hits 165 degrees internal temperature. At that point, I'm going to take some peach paper and wrap it and take it to 205 degrees internal. Pull it off. I'm going to let it rest for a good 2 to 3 hours. Okay, if you want to go full on traditional pastrami, some of your more famous delis in New York will, at 165 degrees internal temperature, pull it off the smoker, throw it in the refrigerator for 12 hours. Then they pull it out, put it in a steam, usually a pot or in a steamer, and they slowly steam it until you hit 205 degrees internal temperature. So that's classic deli. For us, I'm going to do the entire thing on the smoker. So when we come back in the morning, I'm going to have my smoker pre-lit, set at 250 degrees. And when we come back, we're going to place it on our smoker and get this pastrami rolling. Okay, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. This guy has had the rub on it. We're about 15-16 hours. So that's what we got. Rub's nice and stuck on, so we're good to go there. So we're going to put this thing on. I'm going to put a probe in it. We're going to cook to about 165 degrees. When we hit that temperature, we'll be back and I'll show you how to properly wrap pretty much anything, but we'll be wrapping this with a peach paper. So I got my grill preheated to 250 degrees. It is quite cold, so we need to work pretty fast. Okay, when we come back, we'll be wrapping. Okay, here is our pastrami so far. Our bark is fairly hard, which is a good thing. We're at 165 degrees right at the moment. So what we're going to do, we're going to wrap it in our butcher paper. You can get a whole roll of butcher paper, and I've used this roll several times. Got it off of Amazon. They vary depending on which one you buy it from on Amazon, anywhere from $13 to $20. So you get a lot of the peach paper or pink butcher paper for fairly cheap. So what we're going to do, take our pastrami, transfer it over. And you want a nice, tight wrap. And actually, I'm going to put the fat cap down. Okay, you want this wrap to be as tight as you can get it up against the meat. You do not want any air gaps on this, or else you'll actually end up with more of a steaming effect. So especially if you're doing just a regular brisket, the tighter the better. Just take and kind of pull it to make sure. You got it like this. Okay, like this. Okay, we've got a nice tight wrap going on. We're going to go back on the smoker until we hit 205 degrees. When we do that, we'll come back and we will rewrap it one more time in some more of the butcher paper. We'll wrap it in a towel and we'll get it placed in a cooler for it to rest for several hours before we cut it. So we'll see you then. Okay, just pulled the pastrami off the smoker. We hit 205 degrees with it. Now, I'm going to wrap it one more time. Again, try to keep a tight wrap on it. Then you can use one big thick towel or use a couple thinner towels. Wrap it like so. And then from here, we're going to place it in a cooler for no less than 2 hours before we take it out and cut it. When that happens, we'll bring you back and we'll give this lovely pastrami a taste. Okay, it's been 2 hours. Our pastrami has been resting wrapped and in a cooler. Definitely, if you want to, go another hour or two letting it rest. However, let's get this thing out. Let's see what we're working with here. You can definitely smell the citrus notes that the coriander brings along. And there we go, look at that. Now, at this point, if you think this is too much seasoning on it, you can lightly rub on it. A lot of the seasoning will fall off during the handling and the cooking. But if you think it's too much on the next one, scale it back a little bit. I happen to like a lot of this flavor on the pastrami. Now, for the test, let me get it around this side. This is super soft. You want to go nice, thin strips. It smells amazing. I mean, there we go. Get a little closer to that camera there. Okay. Hit it with another slice here. Alright. I mean, with your brisket, you want it to hold up. Then a light tug coming apart. That right there is a good cook on this piece of meat. And that is a great pastrami. Feel free to head on over to Z Grills Nation Facebook group. Request to join. If you do not own a pellet smoker, head on over to zgrillsalescenter.com and order your smoker today.